Hello, tonight we're going to be looking at perimeter and area of rectangles and also parallelograms. So let's sketch each of those. A rectangle is a parallelogram that has to have 90-degree angles. A parallelogram has two sets of parallel sides, two pairs of parallel sides. So that's the definition of a parallelogram, and you've seen rectangles for years now, hopefully. So we're going to find the perimeter and area of both of those. So let's talk about some examples of perimeter. Like if you were reading a story problem, what would be some keywords to look for perimeter? Building a fence. That's something that goes around the outside of a figure. If you're doing any type of trim work, like if you're wanting to put trim around your living room or trim even around a blanket. How about a border? A lot of story problems about putting a border around your flower garden. Area. Area is the number of square units inside of a figure. So like carpet covers the entire inside of your living room instead of just the trim that goes around the border. If you're going to paint a wall, you would have to find the area of your wall. Or tiling, I guess, is a lot like carpet, but you need to find the area of your kitchen if you're going to put some new tile in. So those are just some key story problems, types of things that you might hear about. All right, so find the perimeter of each figure. We're going to do both. We're going to do area and perimeter of anything that we draw. So let's start off with a rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle, let's see, draw it out, boom, boom, and remember, remind yourself, rectangles have to have 4 90-degree angles, and that's what that little symbol means. Let's make our rectangle 14 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Okay, to find the perimeter, we need to add all sides. Okay, we got to keep enough space on the other side to solve our other problem. All right, so to add all sides, we have to remember that the opposite side is also 14 centimeters, and then the other short side is also 5 centimeters. So the perimeter is 14 plus 14 plus 5 plus 5. And you could have multiplied by 2 and all kinds of fancy formulas, but all you're going to do is add all of those up. And that would be 38 centimeters. Okay? All right, for the area formula for a rectangle is base times height. So that's what we use now in our new book. If you grew up using length times width, that formula still works. It's still good. But base times height is kind of more of a generic words, and it fits in nicely with the other formulas that we use. So that's the only reason they changed up the vocabulary there. So if the base is 14 and the height is 5, those are the only two numbers that we need, and instead of adding them together like we did with perimeter, we're multiplying them together. So 5 times 14 is 70, and it's centimeters squared. Okay, so let's make sure we remember to use squared units when you're finding area. So when finding area. Okay, not perimeter. Perimeter is one-dimensional. You're just going around the outside. So you're only doing one dimension, so there's no square there. But for area, you're counting up how many square centimeters would I need to draw out to cover up the whole area. So you're using squared units because there is a length and there is a width. You have two dimensions. So the 2 is representing your two dimensions. So make sure you do that when you're finding area. Okay, off to the side, I went ahead and drew a parallelogram. So go ahead and sketch that out with me. So parallelogram has a base, and then it has the slanted side, that is 21, and then the height is 16. So base of 20, a height of 16, and the slanted side is 21. So perimeter, remember, is adding up all of the outside edges. So there's one number that I won't use for that. So if I look at my border, the outside edges, I have a 20 and a 21. The top part is also going to be a 20, and then the other side is going to be 21. So I am not using that 16 to find my perimeter. And over here we added all the sides. This time I'm going to write it a little bit different just so you can see another option. I have 2 of the tops, 2 of the bases, so I can write 2 times 20 plus 2 times 21. Okay, another way people like to write it is they like to add the 2 sides and then times that by 2. So there's just a variety of ways you can write out your perimeter. But as long as you know that you need to add all sides, you're going to be good. The perimeter, 41 times 2 would be 82. Okay, and we have just centimeters, remember, because it's just one dimension. All right, now we're going to look at area for our parallelogram. The reason these probably are put together is because they have the same formula for area. We're going to take the base times the height. So earlier we were not using the 16 because that is our height. That's why they had to draw that dotted line, because it tells us how tall the parallelogram is. So if the base is 20, the height is 16. We're going to multiply those two numbers together, just like we did on the rectangle. And 20 times 16 is 320 centimeters squared. Again, we're finding area for the same reason. We are finding units squared. So, final answer right there. A composite figure is something that we're going to look at later, but just a brief preview. Composite figures is when you put 2 or more or a lot of different shapes together, so you can break it up into different shapes, and you would say, well, this rectangle plus this rectangle equals the total. So a composite figure, what we're going to do when we get there is we're going to say the area of number 1 plus area of 2 equals total area. Okay, they are pretty labor intensive, and we will get into that later.